Today we're talking about the value of imagination. Now, yes, so we had the value of expression, and it's very, 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 very important, let me just flip the snares off, that if you have any kind of imagination at all, any kind of imagination, that you learn how to express yourself in some way, shape or form, to be able to bring this into this. Because absolutely everything we know that is human-made started up here in some person's brain. That's it. That's how everything begins. We see a thing and we see another thing, and in a very life mathsy kind of way, we go, wait a minute, what about that plus that? And we do it with dogs. What about if I took this dog and that dog and made a new dog? Yeah, we do it with things all the time. We genetically modify stuff all the time. Oh, what if I just took this thing there? What about if I just added... I was chatting to someone yesterday in the gym, and she's a geneticist. She's studying, she's doing a master's next year, and she's saying about how basically they're trying to make plants horny or hornier to reproduce more to help feed starving populations. That kind of idea. Great. Yeah, that's what someone does at their time. Make plants horny by modifying shit. But that starts in someone's imagination. Someone has to imagine, well, what if we could do this thing? Wouldn't that be great? And then someone else goes, that would be great, because I can imagine doing this with this new technology. And this is what I said to her. I was like, so you're not a philosopher in any kind of way, shape or form, right? You don't think about the ramifications of what your technology could do, what someone could do, let's say, with your technology versus what it could do, because it's inert. Let's face it, guns don't kill people, people kill people. It's that idea. We do the stuff with the things, but we still need to do the stuff. But we imagine the things to do the stuff with, and someone else goes, I can imagine doing X, Y, and Z with that same thing, or a derivative of that same thing. So their imagination kicks in based off of someone else's, and we're all standing on the shoulders of those who came before us. So we're all just thinking, okay, so that plus that, right, cool, bang, got a new thing. And then you see another thing, you go, well, that plus that, bang, you got another new thing, and you go, well, hold on a minute, what about if I combine, and that's like fractals, isn't it? It's just the same shit all the way down. Turtles all the way down, as they say. It's that same idea. Okay, so we use our imaginations to create new shit, but we need something initially to spark our imaginations. Now, me personally, I have a wild and vivid imagination. So being so ill as a child, having to spend time in hospital, having to spend time outside of school, just sitting around. Obviously nowadays, there are so many things we can do to distract ourselves from the reality of the world, basically, and create a whole different reality kind of here in the palm of our hands, which is weird in itself, and we'll go into that another day. But the idea back then of having all these things to do, no, you just kind of sit in your bed. And you don't even watch the world go by, because there's no one else in your room. You're isolated. Because I was the kind of ill that I would catch everyone else's bugs. Every now and again, I'd be in a ward room where there might be sort of 3 or 4 of us in there, but we all had the same bugs, so we couldn't catch any new stuff. But for me, it was a case of, no, you get in isolation. So you're just kind of in your room. You're almost like an exhibit in a zoo kind of a thing, you know. You're in your own little tank and you just kind of sit there like, la, 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 la. You might read a bit of a book. But when you're ill, you don't really fancy doing much either. So I would use my imagination. And over the years, yeah, things have got better. Technological advances have meant that I could watch DVDs. And I would have like the Blue Planet and the Owl Planets and all the David Attenborough kind of naturey ones. And I remember having the Long Way Round and the Long Way Down. With Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman, and their motorbike round the world, and then down from, John O'Groats down to the bottom of South Africa, Cape Town, I think it was. And, oh my days, just imagining having such an adventure, doing such a journey. So, ill, sat in hospital, not knowing, if this is going to be like the last time, or sort of recovering from and hoping, maybe never get ill again. Yeah, right. So, imagining this future in which I would be able to take such a journey, go on such an adventure, would keep me going. It's like I said about hope the other day. I hope one day I can. So this imagination of what this future, I can have these things, one day do these things, maybe if I stayed well, if I made sure I still ate when I was feeling sick, if I did this, if I did that, if I did all the grueling crap and dealt with all of the shit day in, day out, night in, night out, then maybe one day I could do such a thing. So my imagination would run wild. I'd see things and I'd imagine, oh yeah, this, and this. And I've had my own experiences in life. So actually, since then, I have indeed not quite done a whole John O'Groats to Cape Town or around the world. I did a month motorbike trip with my ex around Europe. It was fantastic. We left England on my bike, so she jumped on the back of my bike, had all the panniers, all the gear, all the rucksack, everything like that, all loaded up. And we rode through Bruges on our first night, actually. So once we crossed the channel, we went across France into Bruges. Sat there, the sunshine on my face, hard day riding, especially when you've got a passenger and all the gear. You've got to control a lot of weight on that bike, you know, it's tough. And so just drinking that Belgian triple, about 9%, oh my days, I got halfway down my... Can you imagine that after a hard day ride? It was just glorious. And so we went from there, rode down into Germany, to the middle of Germany. She picked up her bike, hopped on that, and then we did the rest of the trip. It was phenomenal. My imagination of what it might be, it was just nowhere near as how amazing as it was. We didn't plan anything until we woke up in the morning and she would be like, bah, 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 okay, well, I've worked out some cool roads. I've zoomed in on Google Maps. I'd be doing my treatments. I'd be doing my exercises. I'd be doing the things I had to do to stay alive, to stay healthy, to stay fit enough to continue the trip. And so she would be planning the next day. Okay, we could go here, we could go there. This looks like a cool road. This looks like a cool road. Let's avoid all the main highways, because who wants to do that? If you're on motorbikes, you want to ride, man. So we ended up on some gnarly roads, some really off-roady, what the fuck is this kind of a road? But it was great. And we did some, just off-pisting in a way. And we did some swimming in some lakes. You just stripped naked after riding all day, sweating, just dripping, sweating in these things, but south of France, Spain in May on a motorbike with a helmet on, the gloves on, all the leathers on. Can you imagine? And you just strip that off and you've got the sunshine, it's like 30 degrees. And you just dive into this glorious crystal clear lake. Amazing. So I have done these kind of things and I've lived it almost seems like 1,000 lifetimes sometimes. I've lived a real experienced life. It's been phenomenal. So when I think about my experiences in the past, I can imagine incredible things in the future. Okay, well, if this and this and this is that, yeah. Well, could you imagine doing this and this and this, but actually feeling well and being fit and being healthy? Because everything I've ever done has always been tainted with ill. I've always done it and been ill, been in tremendous amounts of pain and discomfort. Yeah, it's been torturous at times. But I've still done things because I wanted to make the most of being alive. So on the flip, I think, well, my previous experience can help me imagine this amazing stuff in the future. But my previous experience can help me to imagine a fucking horrible future. Because I've had both. I've had the extremes of both as well. So the more extreme your experience, the more intense your experience, and the more chronic those experiences, so it's not just a plus, it's a times kind of idea, then the more vivid and the more wild your imagination is going to be. This is what I truly believe. Your mind gets stretched by actual events. So this is the experiences you don't necessarily seek out. These are the ones that kind of just happen. Yeah, they're kind of just intrinsic to your being. This is your character. These are your special skills. This is the shit that you got to handle. Okay, cool. And so, as a result, I have this wild, vivid imagination. Great! Yay! Me! For when things really, really suck, I can imagine better times. However, like hope, if you live only in your imagination, and you get kind of traumatized into staying there. So, imaginative world is great. Everything, yeah, brilliant. And you kind of disassociate from the real world and you become delusional to some degree. Because you're too scared to act in the real world. You're too scared to actually just do anything because of what has happened negatively. It's overwhelmed you to the point where you're just paralyzed by fear. So you can imagine all this great stuff. Yeah, man, I live in my imagination. It's brilliant. But actually, the whole rest of the world, no. It's not really real. So you're going to really, really struggle in life with many, many things. So I don't want this to be myself. I've struggled enough with enough things, thank you very much. So, I have to have this idea of imagine a bit, do a bit. Imagine a bit, do a bit. It's balance and timing. I say this all the time. Balance is key, timing is everything. So long as you can prove the rest is easy. So for me, I'll have this imagination. Yeah, I can do this. Whoa, 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 whoa. It's great. You can imagine all this stuff. But right now, you can't execute all that stuff. So there's a lot of people with great imaginations. There's not very many people who can actually make shit happen, actually get shit done. There's fewer and fewer and fewer of these people in the world. I am one of these people, and because of previous experience where I've been able to do lots of things, great. You were that person. You are still that person in many senses, but now we're taking a different approach, and that is the slowest, smoothest, fast approach. We're building a healthy future with healthy habits. So we're going to take our time more. It's frustrating. I have to have patience. So I have to have this imagination, wild and vivid and great. But I have to add the patience. And I have this wild and vivid imagination, is great. But I then have to add the focus. And I have this wild and vivid imagination, is great. But I actually have to do the fucking reps. I can't just have this, like I said, you can't just manifest unicorns laying on the floor and they just come up and knock at the door. Somehow, well, magical, wouldn't they? That's how they knock. So this whole idea of just this imagination alone, it's worthless. You need to be able to express it somehow. And as I said yesterday, expression in many different ways, shapes and forms. There was a dude, I don't know his name, Google him. He wrote a book, don't know what it's about, Google it. But he could only blink. I believe he had locked-in syndrome. And he could only communicate by blinking. But he could imagine a book. He could imagine writing a book. Somehow, he could just, I can imagine this. I need to bring this out to here. Couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't do anything except blink his eyes. And he wrote a book from blinking his eyes. Your imagination is amazing. He was found the motivation, the inspiration, the desire, the drive, all the rest of it. He could have just given up and thought, what's the fucking point? No, he could imagine this thing, and it was so burning in his brain, he had to get it out. That is the power of the imagination. The imagination can be your best friend, your greatest asset, and it can be your worst enemy, and it can destroy you. It depends what sort of things you imagine. I do both. I'm very balanced. I imagine me doing incredible, amazing, wonderful things that inspire me and motivate me and want me to keep going. And I imagine me just being a sack of shit and useless and worthless. Man, what's the point? I imagine both things. I've seen both things. I've been both people. So I just have to imagine. I have to have this optimism, value of optimism coming up, of this future that will be good. I have to imagine I have the skills. I have to remember the times that I had these things and that I did these things and I could do rather than couldn't do. I have to imagine I can still do these things and have that ability and can tap into it. It might be more difficult. I might have more resistance. But I have to imagine myself being capable. Otherwise, what's the point in going forward into the future? Yeah, we had the value of attitude the other day. It just doesn't help to have a sucky attitude. So imagining you can is kind of a first step into getting anything done. So imagine a bit, do a bit. Imagine a bit, do a bit. I've done very well so far in remembering all of this stuff because I imagine what I'm going to say before I say it. Now, some days I just go, oh, whatever, record, and I have no notes or anything like that, and I just go, and it kind of comes out and it works. Other times I imagine what I'm going to say for a good few hours. Almost every single time. In fact, every single time, I think, I forget at least a thing out of the things I've imagined. I could say this, I could say that, I could say the rest of it. I always forget at least a thing. And imagination is one of those things I can guarantee there's going to be so many things I'm going to finish this video and go, oh, mate, you could have said this, you could have made that point. So probably, I imagine, there's going to be another one of these videos. But now, I have to check this. Because, yeah, this is it. When we hear stories, we use our imaginations. Okay, I was telling you the story about the motorbike ride. Did you use your imaginations? Did you see me twisting and turning and riding through the south of France and Andorra? Did you see the snow as we crossed into Andorra? You know, did you see the beautiful French breakfast lady? I did. Did you smell the croissant? I don't know. It depends how detailed my story. So sometimes we can get lost in details. It's completely fucking pointless. And we get so ingrained in all these details, our imagination goes so far down the rabbit. We get distracted as to what the real fucking point is. I do that a lot. I just go off on little tangents. So it's very important, like I said earlier, we need the focus as well. We need to imagine a thing, but then if it keeps shifting, so whenever I play on the keys, I'm just expressing. I'm not imagining. a piece. I'm just expressing some stuff, and it keeps moving, keep moving, keep moving. So then when I imagine a song, I need to actually cement some stuff down. I need to focus on it to make it a tangible thing. And this is what I mean, getting that the imagination into real life. We often get very, very distracted. One of the other things we do is we imagine the whole thing and think, holy shitballs. So for me, I mentioned it on my very first video, the Breathe Easy project, the Breathe Easy farm. I imagine it and have been imagining it now for over half my life. I think the first time, must have been about 16, maybe 17 that I thought about it. And the idea of this farm, it's not a commercial farm in a sense. It makes money to sustain itself, but it's an educational farm. It's somewhere where people go, and I mentioned this before, where they literally need a break from their life. So I've had it in my life, right? I literally just fucking time out, wait a minute. Death is literally just there fucking trying to get me, you know. And there's not just one death, there's loads of deaths. They're everywhere, right in every corner. Ready to get me. It's like, whoa, time out. Just give me a second. I need to collect my thoughts. I need to just breathe for a minute. I just need one good deep breath to relax me. For fucking decades, I couldn't take a deep breath. I couldn't actually take that wholesome, fulfilling, relaxing, peaceful. Couldn't do it. Constant state of anxiety, constant state of, oh shit, I'm dying. So I needed somewhere that I could just breathe easy. So I thought, well, if I could do with that, I'm sure there's lots of other people that can do with that as well. Somewhere they can go where they know they're going to be fed, they're going to be watered, they have a bed. It's peaceful. They're not under attack. They don't need to have their guard up. They can just collect their thoughts, get their breath back as if they've just been chased, because that's how I always felt. I was always out of breath, always like I've just been chased. Always in that state of flight. And then fight. All the time. Yeah? So I imagine a place where someone can go. Someone like I was and I felt, and I do still at times. Someone in that position who can go and they can have nothing else in their life going on, and they can just get themselves centered again, and they can connect with nature, connect with people, connect with real life. And then they can learn some skills, learn that they have the capability to change things, learn that their life is in their hands, and then they can go out again when they feel stronger, and they can go and do things in the world. And that's what I imagine the Breathe Easy Farm. The Breathe Easy Farm has animals in it, but they're not for slaughter, they're not to be eaten or anything. I imagine that when they're dead, probably carve them up, probably have some chickens, probably get some ducks and get some eggs and stuff like that. Yeah, I imagine these things, probably have some goats, might get some milk. I imagine these things. But in a really harmonious kind of symbiotic relationship with the plants and the animals and the land and all the rest of it. And I don't exactly know how it's all going to run. It's just an imagination of certain things. I imagine it on a hilltop somewhere. I imagine it maybe near the seaside. All of these are, oh yeah, this would be nice, that would be nice. But I don't know. But I have this idea, this imagination of the way it'll work. So there'll be a nice farmhouse, and I won't have the whole place all to myself. I will have likely some sort of annex, some sort of building, where it'll be like my studio space, my living space, just my space for me. It's nice and clean and tidy, germ-free, no one goes in there. It's organised how I like it, just so that I know when I need to retreat, when my body's not feeling great, when my mind needs a break, I've got my little space. But I imagine sharing it with people. I don't imagine a sterilised place. I imagine a really lively place. I imagine people up at 4 a.m, other people still up at 1 a.m. from being awake, and you know, almost like they sort of meet in the middle. You know, and they're just going to bed, they're just waking up. There's people coming and going. You know, there's a steady flow of sort of newcomers and then people leaving. But there's also the main people, the core people that sort of work and live there. I imagine that. I imagine a real good, fun community. I imagine, you know, having like big bonfires and just playing music and dancing and all these kind of, that's what I imagine. That's who I am at heart. A real country boy, a real kind of hippie soul, you know. That's what I imagine. I'd love to bring that to life. And that is my endeavour with all of this stuff that I do. I thought, what I'm actually trying to do? And what I'm trying to do is the Breathe Easy Project. And the Breathe Easy Project is a bigger reaching thing. But where I want to live, where I want to be, I guess where I want to spend the end of my days, so to speak, is the Breathe Easy Farm. That's what I imagine with that. So we can see the whole thing, and then it can scare us from even starting. No, I just, oh God, it's too much. And it might be a hell of a lot. And it might be too much for you in the here and the now, but that's why we then need to imagine chunks. Think of it, you know, if you've got a ruler and what you want is right at the top, you think, well, okay, what are these little, you know, steps or ladder? Ladder also works. I think that's the actual what the analogy was. The ladder with steps. Ladders have steps. And so you just, you know, think about these little rungs and you think, all right, How can I get there? And I imagine breaking it down into these little chunks. Now, you might break a chunk and you go, you know what, that's actually still too much of a chunk. I have to imagine smaller chunks. And here's the flip. People can only imagine the small chunk. They can only imagine the start. I can only imagine the first step. I can't imagine the whole big thing. I can't imagine this. I can't imagine having employees. I can't imagine. That's fine. Don't. You'll paralyse yourself. If you try and imagine the whole thing straight away, you'll paralyse yourself most likely. So don't. Just imagine that first thing, and imagine doing it. And then imagine the satisfaction you'll feel once you've done it. And then imagine what you'll learn from doing it. And then do it. That's it. You know, and oftentimes we can use our imaginations till the cows come home, but just fucking do it. Have the imagination, the idea to go, oh, I'm going to start. Yay! And then start. Because there's no point in having the idea to start if it's always going to be tomorrow. I'm going to start a diet tomorrow. I'm going to start running tomorrow. I'm going to start doing push-ups tomorrow. I'm going to start approaching people tomorrow. I'm going to start asking for what I want tomorrow. No. You know, it's the here and now. You have to imagine it and then do it. Imagine it, do it. Imagine a bit, do a bit. That's it. So the other thing that really stops us, and I've said this in another video, I can't remember which one, might be fear. All those years ago. Well, those days, months ago. Nearly months ago. So our idea of someone else's idea of us. I'll say that again to make it clear. Our idea of someone else's idea of us. Not what they've told us, not what they've written, not what they've actually said. Just what we think they might think. Well, hey, because we think it, basically. That's it. What we think they might think. Because of all our insecurities, all the things we see, we think that's what they see. No! And they probably don't even think about you that much. And if they do think about you that much, then they probably quite like you. Because people who think about you a lot and fucking hate you usually make it known in some way, shape or form. Even if they don't say it to you personally, they will say it to everyone else. I used to have a guy who worked for me. And I ain't going to say his name, but he fucking knows who he is if he's watching this. And I did nothing but trying to help the dude. And he did nothing but hate me and hate on me. And was bitching and moaning about me. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And he never did shit. And it was hilarious. And that's the thing, people make it known. If they think about, like, I took up a lot of space in his head, by the way. And I haven't thought about him for years. But it's that kind of idea. We just imagine, so, you know, oh, I'm annoyed there, and I want to get him. All we're just going to do is eat away at you, mate. I don't give a fuck. So our imagination, our idea of someone else's idea of us can stop us doing things. And I think, again, going back to the whole dating thing, because this is where I'm at in my life right now, a lot of people imagine a conversation going horrendously poorly. Well, if you're shit at conversations, your imagination serves you well. So get good at conversations. How? Do it. Just fucking do it. Practice. How? Any way, shape or form you can, but make sure it's in real life. None of this virtual conversation shit. None of the phone, none of that. In real life, face to face, where you can see the spit fly out their mouth and feel it hit your fucking face. That is what I want you to practice. If you're shit at having in-person conversations, practice having in-person conversations. Oh, but it's scary. Yeah, it's scary. Get some courage. Oh, but nothing. Oh, no excuses, only reasons, yeah? In the world of dating, if you just imagine nothing but a shit conversation because you've never had a good conversation, start having good conversations. And it doesn't have to be a sexual conversation. It doesn't have to be a conversation with someone you fancy. It can be a conversation with anyone about anything, anywhere where the opportunity strikes. So you need to make the opportunity for yourself. And this is it, we don't. We just imagine somehow it'll work out. Or somehow they'll just walk up to us and say all the right things. It's not how life works. It's not quite so lovely as that. We actually have to do the fucking work. So, you know, that idea of, oh, well, I imagine it's going to go poorly. Well, it will if you ain't practiced. So the value of practice, go and watch it. It's very, very important. But if you can imagine, oh, this person, you know, okay, I say these kind of things. this kind of setting, these kind of things, these work. So I can imagine this is an appropriate kind of thing to say, and then you go ahead and say it, and likely turns out the way you think, because you've had experience. So you don't know this exact person, and that's the other thing. We see someone we like, and we fill in the blank. So I imagine they're also like this, because they're in shape, so I imagine they also eat well. And, you know, they're put together well, so I imagine also they shower, and I imagine they smell good from across the room. I can't see them, but there's nothing to suggest otherwise. Now, you see someone else that you don't like, so people see the look like me, tattoos on my knuckles, on my neck, if I'm angry, if I'm in pain, they see me, oh, fucking hell, he looks like someone I don't like. So they'll associate all these other things with me. I bet he's like this, I bet he's like that, I bet he's like the rest of it. And they may even be right. But that may also only be in certain circumstances, and that's the other thing. So we imagine these things, but we imagine the worst. Of course we do. Of course we do. It's a survival instinct. We all imagine the worst. But we should still hope for the best and act as if the middle is going to happen. I'll say that again. We should be prepared for the worst. As in, you go up to someone and go, hey, and they just go, no. Now that's going to sting. I don't care who you are. It's going to sting. It might not be a kick in the bollocks. It might not be a punch in the face. It might not be a kick in the cunt. But it's still going to sting. So that idea of that's the worst. Someone literally laughs in my face at the idea of being with me. Probably the most insulting thing. And it will affect your day. Can I handle it? Yeah. I can handle it. I don't want it. It's not ideal. I wouldn't like it. If people saw it, I would be embarrassed. And it will be a hard pill to swallow. And it might take me a day or two of licking my wounds to get back on it again. But yeah, I can handle it. I am tough enough to handle that. Okay, that's the worst case. What's the best case? Best case is you get a date. Maybe the worst case is you get a date. I don't know, because if you've got no skills on dates, that's a whole other thing. But anyway, just this idea of the imagination. Well, what's the best case? The best case is you get the number, you say yes, maybe a little peck on the cheek even. I don't know, maybe a little hug. Good to meet you, I'll see you soon. Whatever. Best case. Middleist case. Middleist case is you're probably going to have a little bit of a chit chat. You realise there's nothing between you. Yeah, they might be quite attractive, but and you just part ways, and it's a bit neutral. And that's that. And that's the middleist case, and that's probably the most likely thing to happen. But the more you do that, the better you get, the more you're able to steer the conversation where you want it to go, and you can imagine things to say and do that will do that based on previous experience. But again, we allow ourselves, we fill in the blanks about what we think of the rest of the person, the whole rest of their personality, or we just imagine, no, it's just not going to go good. I can't imagine what to say. I can't this. And we imagine, no, there's just no way it's going to go well. So we talk ourselves out of it. We talk ourselves out of so many things. Our imagination, like I said, is our best friend, our greatest asset, or our worst enemy, and can destroy us. What do you imagine? What do you imagine for the rest of your day? Do you imagine you're going to get outside? Do you imagine you're going to get off your phone? Or do you imagine you're going to do the same shit over and over again? I hope for your sake, you choose wisely.